on this episode of Southern Fried Geekery.
Spoilers? Spoilers.
And more spoilers.
Spoiler. What was Robin's girlfriend before she was Robin? Spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
That's our opener. That's it.
Fun thing, if it's been a lack of news on the Facebook page, I hope y'all have been picking up my slack, because when my wife says cancel the cable, and I do,
you don't have internet,
and then tells me that we're not gonna have internet till the next week. I haven't been able to surf that web very much.
So you've been living in 1983.
Yes,
for like
or early 90s, or early 90s. You're like us and didn't have the internet till
right.
Stacy's mom's got it going.
How long did it take you to get to work with a horse-drawn carriage the other day?
Surprisingly fast. Has a lot of horsepower.
Just one.
So does your beard grow faster now that you've disconnected from technology? Like
yes.
Are your cells automatically like changing you into an Amish creature?
It's true, because all I have to do now is stare at a mirror, eat a Snickers bar, and it's just make my beard grow.
Internet?
Oddly enough,
computers.
I think the Amish might be the only group that we could possibly get away with insulting on the podcast, because it's wrong for them. It's wrong for them to ever listen to it.
No, they go on that Ramadan thing where they...
That's not Ramadan.
Whatever it's called. Where they take their break.
They take a year sabbatical.
Yeah.
And they go out and party and do a lot of drugs and have the good sex, and then come back and put their overalls back on.
I see those folks.
It's the Christian loophole.
You know,
dressed in their frontier clothing.
One of my favorite characters.
Me in the ass because Jesus loves me.
Whoa!
If you guys haven't heard that song, you really need to listen to it.
What
Christian loophole.
Do you know who it's by?
I don't know. It's like Garfunkel and something.
Mm-hmm. Garfunkel and Oates.
Yeah.
Garfunkel and Oates.
Oh, that comedy team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay,
and it's the Christian loophole, and it's fuck me in the butt.
It's the butthole.
Yeah, fuck me in the butthole
is the loophole.
What are y'all listening to?
Apparently really funny stuff that you're not.
Wow, like I thought I was bad for listening to like Cake and Sodomy by Manson, but you guys just one up me. I'm not the deviant I thought I was.
They're like Sodomy's the loophole, but only if you're straight.
Whoa. You know that meme where it's like it gradually goes up, like the brain's exploding. Like I just hit like universal person level. So okay, well fuck me running. Do you want to do a podcast?
Let's record.
Let's do this stuff. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. As usual, I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
I'm Craig Lance.
I'm Sean.
I am the artist formerly known as Jerry. How are you guys doing this week?
Did you turn yourself into a symbol?
Wait, what? Yes.
Is it
now he's S. Jerry. Inside joke. The S is silent.
SJW Jerry.
It's the Jerry.
And I wear a silver wig with like a spacesuit.
And hangs out on my couch.
and does it. And it's just amazing while doing it. So, congratulations and enjoy on this new endeavor. Hey, this is our 30th episode. We're slowly but surely racking up those big numbers and going places and doing things. If you haven't listened to our last episode, episode 29, it covered a whole lot of stuff that we learned on the internet about San Diego Comic-Con, and there was a ton of news that we went over. So go check that out. You might find something that you missed, or you might just be entertained by our wording good about stuff we like.
It was great. It was an entire hour and a half of news.
It pretty much.
And we gave ourselves like 5.5 minutes to talk about.
Yes, we sped around comics and talked. Well,
it was fantastic.
It was just news bombs after news bombs. It's the largest pop culture event. And you just were like that Sunday when I was catching up on stuff. I was like, oh crap, this happened while we were recording. So go check that out. And if you are so inclined to do so, you can leave us a review and a rating on iTunes, and we would really appreciate it. And you can also check us out on our social media sites. We're on Twitter and Instagram at SFG Podcast on both of those places. We're on Facebook, where we're the Southern Fried Geekery Podcast. We are also, I know it's kind of the tail wagging the dog, but if you don't want to subscribe via your podcast catchers, you can find us on YouTube. And we have a channel there. So, but if you're already listening to this, it's kind of a redundant bit of information. So,
which is also Southern Fried Geekery.
It is Southern Fried Geekery Podcast. But yeah, go check us out there. So, let's get into some news. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry, I'm being rude. How are you, gentlemen?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I played some Dungeons and Dragons last night.
Did you?
Yeah, almost died. David almost killed us all.
What kind of character are you playing?
It's actually Pathfinder, and I'm a war priest with 4 arms.
I feel like I've heard this story before.
Yeah, I carry 3 weapons and a shield.
Do you have a Kopesh?
No, I actually do not. I wield scythes and
So curved Kopeshes.
curved 1 foot long knives, and I do all kinds of damage.
That should be a punk band name, Curved 1 Foot Long Knife.
Yeah,
It's
there's a 12-foot ninja man.
Yes, yeah, and they're good.
Yeah, this week was actually Gary Gygax's birthday. I think it was Friday the 27th.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So,
Today is Gail Simone's birthday.
Happy birthday,
So,
Gail.
happy birthday, Miss Gail. We heart you real big.
I'm
we
sure
hope
she's
you-
listening.
I'm gonna tag her on Twitter, so maybe she'll actually give us our podcast.
today is when we're recording, not when we're releasing.
Right. Yes. So the day that we're
Yes.
actually,
So
time
happy
is,
belated birthday.
Maybe time is relevant. So
How are you, Sean?
I have to go to work after this.
You do. Fantastic.
So
We better get going
let's
because
do
actually
this.
Caleb has to work too. So
Yeah. So no
Jerry
one,
and I get the rest of the day.
no one sends us
I
money
get to
just
build
to
models
exist.
after this.
You can
Well,
build
you
my
can
Boba
fix
Fett.
that if you just simply want to donate to
that's
Southern Fried Geekery.
If you are so moved and heartbroken that both Sean and I have to go earn our money today, you can please send money to our PayPal account. Just slide up in my DMs, and I will let you know where to put that check. So, which isn't at all what prostitution is. So, all right. So let's get into some news. Craig, why don't you start us off? What you got, bro?
Yeah, so I went and saw the Teen Titans Go movie this week. I don't think anybody else had a chance to see it yet. Really a fun, entertaining movie if you love the show. Like I think all of us at the table do. Maybe
Right.
not Caleb.
No, I do.
Oh, okay.
I have. I've watched it.
Caleb
I really
actually
enjoyed
hates
it.
it.
Yeah, but if you love the show, you're going to love the movie. It's an hour and a half of them being them and everything that entails. Lots of cameos that you wouldn't expect. Lots of making fun of pretty much every movie ever made that's a superhero movie.
Right.
It's a good fun time.
I don't know that I can trust you as a human if you don't like Teen Titans. It's so fucking wholesome.
Well, there's a group of people out there. We were talking to somebody, Blake, at the Pathfinder game last night, and he doesn't like it because he's a Teen Titans fan, the previous cartoon. Which
One of those
go
people
watch this movie and
Right.
find some things out.
Does he say fuck Batman?
He actually does not. He almost does, but not within that context.
I saw a parody of that from like the Key and Peele skit.
Oh,
It was like,
The Key and Peele?
Key and Peele,
Key and Peele.
comedy.
Oh, like Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
are they
yeah.
doing
Jordan.
stuff again?
no, it was
It's
it was
an
just a
old
parody
skit.
off
Okay.
of one of their old skits.
Esther and Georgina are my spirit animals. So just with my prayers.
Yeah, so maybe the most fun I've had at a DC movie since
Wonder
probably Nolan's second Batman
Oh,
movie.
really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Wonder Woman was good, but this is a lot of fun.
Right.
This is just a fun romp through the DC universe with some Marvel references thrown in. And,
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Also in TV news, Joe Hill's Lock and Key is officially in production for Netflix. They made a pilot back in the day for Hulu, and for some reason didn't get it picked up. If you don't know who Joe Hill is, it's Stephen King's son. He wrote this great series called Lock and Key, where these kids move into this, I think it's called Lovecraft Manor.
Yeah.
And they start finding all these keys that can control different parts of the house, and whenever they use them, like supernatural things happen. And then there's this whole like sub story going on of like things that happened with their dad and their uncle when
Right.
they lived in the house, and it's a really great story. They made I think 6 trade paperbacks
I
altogether.
think so. You and I are the only two that read that, I think. Have you read it,
I have
Caleb?
not read it.
Yeah.
It is available on Comixology Prime, Unlimited or Prime or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So I've got it borrowed, quote unquote.
You should absolutely
So-
read it. Jerry, what was your favorite key?
My out of all the keys, I don't know. I really liked the head key.
I was going to say that's
Yeah.
my favorite. That's the
It's-
one that I
it's
wish
so-
I had
it's
the
so
most.
useful.
Yeah. So they have a key that actually opens their head, and you can go into your brain and you can pull out memories you don't want. You can add stuff in. Like for instance, you could take your entire read pile of every comic ever made, dump it in your head, and it would be in your memory forever.
Like in the context of the show, the girl's like studying for a test or something, finds out what this key can do, so she crams all of her textbooks in her head and gains all that knowledge.
Yeah, becomes super
And
smart.
So essentially, by that, you're just downloading or uploading data.
Yeah, but you can also remove, because on one of them they remove fear from the person, from one of the kids, and then he becomes absolutely fearless and is doing shit he shouldn't be doing because he doesn't have that safeguard.
Wait, I could put the entirety of my Pornhub account in my brain.
Oh, what if you put a computer or a laptop in your head? Like, do you just melt down?
Yeah, like a server for the internet.
Right. Wow. That's all you see is butter emails.
No, butter emails.
Butter emails.
Butter emails.
It's like the Paula Deen.
But yeah, I recommend it to anybody, and definitely check it out. It's cool because it's going to have the like all the original people that were involved in that version of it. The showrunners and everything are still supposed to be involved in this. So I'm stoked. I think it needs to hurry up and be made.
Yeah, it was a fantastic book. So
Awesome.
Sean, what do you got, bud?
Continuing the TV news, a little writer you may have heard us mention on the podcast once or twice, maybe Tom King, writer of Batman.
Cool.
Right.
That guy
is throwing his hat into the TV ring, writing a drama series called States of America. It's now currently in development. And from just me reading his Batman alone, I'm going to check out his TV show.
Well, definitely. So I'm curious to see what this is and what this does, because I was listening to him on another podcast, and it's about the differences, the cultural differences in one parts of America. It almost reminds me of Chaikin's Divided States of America, like a little bit of that same concept, which is the name is so weird and everything. I think so people are going to bring that point up, but I don't think he may have cribbed this already cribbable idea, but it's
everyone's inspired by something.
Well, no, for sure, and that is everything is so politicized right now that it's readily available to do.
I was going to say the idea of a dystopian United States is not so far-fetched right
like
now.
Next year or something.
Well, and I don't even know that this is dystopian as much as it's just taking. So I want to say like a year and a half, 2 years ago, there was a study from either I want to say Yale or Stanford that came out, and it literally shows that there are 7 different cultures, like regional cultures, in the United States of America, and that's why across such a broad expanse of land, why we are so different, and why like an area like the South is so politically and culturally, genetically different than
the Northeast,
or even the Northwest,
Southwest.
Because we're dealing with like almost things that should be their own country.
Right.
And so I think that probably is going to play up a lot into this.
Right. Yeah, you could get real political on this real quick.
For sure.
And even me being, I'm not too big into like political shows, but a well-written, well-acted, and well-produced show will catch my interest.
It's going to be timely. I think it's going to catch a lot of people's interest. And it's Tom
King. I mean, I'm already interested.
So continuing along in our television news, Doctor Who's trailer came out. First trailer with the new Doctor in it, which upset a whole bunch of people because
they're mad again.
Well, she's female, so
this is the same one.
Yeah,
she's a doctor in possession of a vagina.
Yeah, she regenerated the last regeneration happened in the Christmas episode, I believe, last year. And
I mistakenly thought she had already become a thing.
No, she regenerated to her, so people have really had their chance to be angry, but it's the internet. So, but I thought it was a fantastic trailer. I got to watch that last season in preparation to get caught up for this season.
I've never watched Doctor Who other than maybe a sporadic episode here and there. I've never followed it, but that trailer looked dope.
Yeah,
I don't know this character. I don't know these characters.
Right.
I don't know anything about them. Just the premise alone, the universe is calling. Like that whole moment in the trailer was awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely looks fantastic. It looks like Doctor Who. It looks fun, and I'm on board. But I'm always on board for Doctor Who. So.
Right. I saw the little video that they did for her, like forgetting that she had a San Diego panel, and like trying to make it there before the panel started and everything. And I was like, she's a doctor. Like, totally.
Absolutely.
Our friend and listener Rod Hedrick loves Doctor Who. Is it probably on your level?
Well, I've watched all of the new Doctor Who except for last season. I'm one season behind, and that's only because my DVR ate my season.
Yeah.
Our buddy Eric Rubright gave me his copy of it tomorrow so I'm going to get it watched and then get prepared for this season. And I've been slowly going back and watching the old. I bought the Brit box, so I've been watching a lot of the old.
Nice.
I've seen bits and pieces of all the old. But
Netflix used to have the original season. I watched the first season of the very first Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean it's not as fun as the new stuff, but because of the time when it was made, I mean it's really still interesting, good stuff. It's just the new stuff is much more.
It was black and white. That's how long ago this series started.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it's the longest running series ever on television.
Yeah, it's been on for a long time. So
it's hard to think of BBC TV without thinking of Doctor Who.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it wasn't the only trailer that came out. There's a couple more trailers that we're going to talk about, but the first of which, I guess the second of which, is Fantastic Beasts 2. So I'm a low-key Harry Potter fan. I'm not obsessive over it the way I think that some people, super fans, are, and that's not an insult. That's, hey, like that, I have a room dedicated to the Hulk. You have a room dedicated to Harry Potter.
You don't know what your house is, or your Patronus, or
I think I would probably be a Slytherin, honestly, just because. Yeah, why not?
I buy that.
Fantastic Beasts 2 came out, the trailer. I'm very excited about what I saw. I think it looks great. I'm very curious about the interaction between young Dumbledore and the main character Newt Scamander. Those guys look good on screen together. Eddie Redmayne is a fine actor. You're getting a really, really good villain in Jack Sparrow. Playing, Jack Sparrow. He's just Jack Sparrow. It's Johnny Depp plays Johnny Depp plays Johnny Depp. So we're getting that. I was not in love with the first movie, and not because it was a bad story, but I think maybe I got geared up for something that was not being made. I really like the idea of this world that basically exists as like the Dungeons and Dragons monster manual with a plot. And so I was really hoping we were going to see just a lot of these fantastic beasts and where to find them, and that kind of like a road trip adventure discovering these really, really amazing animals. And that's not what we got. We got something different. And I think that was my fault for expecting something that was not supposed to be expected. In this one, I think I'm more prepared for what they're going to give us, but I still hope that we see a lot more of these creatures, because I love them. That's my favorite part about fantasy and adventure, is seeing dragons, seeing the little mandrakes getting pulled out of things, seeing Beaky, Buckbeak, whatever its name was, the hippogriff, just seeing all of these fantastic critters from the fantasy.
And seeing the wizarding world from America instead of from Europe was really cool. I was really hoping that they'd eventually get into more detail on the school and everything that they had there.
They may. I don't know if they will or not, but I think it's definitely a possibility. Mm-hmm. So, it looked cool. It's not something that I'm probably going to go see opening night, but I imagine Roger's going to want to go see it anyway, so we're going to go check it out. Oh, no, I'm excited to go see it. I just, that I think is going to be more of a him movie than a me movie, but it does not look bad. I'd say on the 1 to 5, I'd give it maybe a 3.5 or a 4.
Tell him I'll go with him. So instead,
no, you go get your own husband.
Well, another trailer that dropped here recently, coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, I'm very excited about, is Alita the Battle Angel. It's an American adaptation of an old manga in Japan known as Venom, and when it got brought over here, it's called a Battle Angel Alita. Sci-fi setting, robot battles. I'm excited. The trailer's been polarizing amongst fans because, as we all know, any American adaptation of anime gives us cause to worry. Mm-hmm. And I'm not 100%, believing this is going to be the best thing ever. But honestly, I think the trailer looks really damn good.
The trailer has me excited for an anime movie for the first time in a long time.
I know nothing about this series, and I'm pretty excited about it.
I mean, Robert Rodriguez directing it already made me feel better once James Cameron walked away from it.
Oh, I didn't know Robert Rodriguez was directing it.
Yeah, no, Cameron was supposed to, but he gave it to Rodriguez so he could go do 2 more Blue Cat movies.
I'm not mad about that at all.
No. Yeah. And some people are getting thrown off by her giant eyes, which I was used to after watching the first trailer the second time. You know what I mean? It is a little whoa, but it fits her. She looks like Gally. The whole thing looks really good. Our friend Tyler, recently at the comics room, I had a long conversation because he's completely worried about it because story elements. It's a deep, engrossing, multi-plot. Everyone's, every character has something going on in the manga. You can't do that in an hour and a half, 2 hour long movie. So I think they are dropping some elements, but it has the feel, it has the look
Well, there's nothing saying that it can't have a sequel that
Exactly.
like you can take those things and you can separate them from multi-plot.
Right.
A multi-series event. They just have to gradiate it a little bit.
And it's fine. And like I said, if the trailer's not doing anything for you, then you don't have to go watch it.
Right.
And I haven't heard a lot of backlash or anything. Knock on wood, no one's mad about the casting of this anime movie about robots. Battle Angel isn't as big of a series as Ghost in the Shell, so I doubt we're going to get as big of a backlash.
Right.
But I'm hyped. I want everyone to go
It looks
see
really good. I had no desire to see Ghost in the Shell, and I'll probably see this movie. I think the trailer's drawn me into it. So,
Typhoid Mary is going to be the main villain of Iron Fist Season 2. An actress has been cast to play her. The actress is Alice Eve, and I'm not familiar with her. I don't know that. I mean, I imagine I've seen something with her in it before, but she doesn't have that star power name recognition.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about this. I don't know what it's going to look like in an Iron Fist series, but Typhoid Mary is one of my favorite Daredevil villainesses, bad guys,
Right.
bad girl. She is most famous from that series, I think specifically there. And so I'm really, really excited to see her brought forth because she's insane.
Right.
Literally, she's an insane character. And
she carries disease with her.
She carries disease. She's vicious. She does not care. She is a harbinger of death and destruction, and she just disperses it wantonly.
Yeah.
So I did not like Iron Fist Season 1. So I think I'm going to like Iron Fist Season 2. And that's,
You're not alone in that, so.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely shaped. I mean, just like as we discussed, I think in another episode, his one appearance in Luke Cage was better than the entire first season.
It really did.
So I think, honestly, I think the producers and everyone's getting their shit together after the reception of the first season got.
Yeah.
They need to. And I'm excited to see what they've got planned. So.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to watch it even if it's not good.
Right.
So let's be honest about this. I'm a mark.
I thought she looked familiar because she'd been in Black Mirror, but what British actress or actor has not been in a Black Mirror episode at this point? That's one thing that Stephanie and I realized every time we look somebody up, and they've been in Black Mirror too, of course.
Right.
One of the things that we didn't mention that got posted last week was the Glass trailer.
Yeah.
Did anybody watch that?
I still haven't.
Yeah.
I'm a horrible geek. I still haven't watched Split.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the new trailer looked great. It started off with Sarah Paulson basically being a psychologist and talking to some people, and then you find out that it's the three main characters from the movies. You got Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis. Yeah, I don't know how I almost forgot his name. And then
Professor Xavier.
Yeah, Professor X, as he is known in the Hollywoods. James McAvoy.
James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, it starts off with her being a psychologist to them, and the whole synopsis of her is she works for a unit that specializes in people that think that they have superpowers, and then it shows a lot of little side scenes with all of them and the possible team up of James McAvoy and Samuel L. Jackson's characters, and he's talking about it being a supervillain team up, which I thought was pretty cool. But I'm totally in. I love Split. I love Unbreakable.
I need to see it. I love Unbreakable. It was fantastic. There, once upon a time, an M. Night Shyamalan film meant that I was going to go see it, and then I lost a lot of faith in that guy.
Split was the movie that regained my faith. For him, and James McAvoy can fucking act.
Yes.
Yeah. Just doing all the different personalities it was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
So, the last piece of entertainment news, movie, television news, is Star Wars Episode 9's casting was confirmed.
Oh, nice.
Of course, all the new people, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaacs, and then Anthony Daniels, and all of the ones you would expect to be there. But there were three somewhat surprises in the casting. One, Billy D. Williams was confirmed, so Lando Calrissian will be in it. 2, Mark Hamill was confirmed, so we are going to get Force Ghost Luke. 3, the biggest surprise of all, Carrie Fisher
I saw
is
that
returning.
This morning.
So they're going to use some footage that they didn't use in Episode 8 and work it in, so we'll see how that all plays out. Billy Lord, her daughter, gave the permission to do that because...
Why wouldn't you?
Right. So,
Wait, I thought... All those people on the internet gave all that money for the remake of The Last Jedi. What are they
happening?
How are they going to make this when they're totally going to do the remake of The Last Jedi?
Without going off and having a Lance Rants impromptu Lance Rants, I saw somebody the other day that literally believed that they were going to they've won. Now that they canceled the rest of the solo movies, not canceled, but they're reevaluating them. This guy posted, and it was after the announcement of Clone Wars. He's like, "See, we're getting all of our old canon back, and they're getting rid of all the new stuff, and we're about to win this thing." And I'm going, Clone Wars have been canon the whole time. You didn't never lose that.
I don't want to give these asshats more attention than they need, but I did not hear about this paid remake. What were they?
There's a group of people that have decided. They say that they've got $50 million or something.
So there's this group of people. They're also known as thieves. So I want you to start like you're a thief. You're a con artist, and you robbed idiots of their money. So number one, you're a shitty person. So what they did is they launched a crowdfunding campaign to where they were going to we're going to raise this money and we're going to remake The Last Jedi because they don't understand how licensing works. They don't understand that they don't have the legal right to do this. They never had anything to do with it. They raised I don't know the numbers, but yeah.
It was millions of dollars.
Gargantuan amount of money, and they did it through Indiegogo, which means that they don't actually have to produce anything. They get the money. So 2 things on that. Number one, crowdfunding's cool. Support Kickstarters that are legitimate, all that stuff. If you support an Indiegogo campaign that doesn't have a finished product, you're a fucking idiot. Because that is the difference in Kickstarter is that you have to reach a certain point and you have to have something to give back in order for you to get that money. Indiegogo doesn't matter if you make your goals or not. You just get to take that money home.
You also shouldn't fund anything that was already drawn in the 90s.
You
can cut that out if you want.
No.
Sorry. But my question really, though, is what were they going to change?
Well, they're going to make their own movie. Luke's going to be, the badass tearing shit because, Mark Hamill's totally going to sign up for this movie.
How dare these people take advantage of these simple-minded fans of Star Wars?
I'm actually perfectly okay that they're ripping off that group of trolls.
Okay, I didn't want to get too much. I did not hear about that.
There's a saying that fools are easily separated from their money, and I guess especially now in the internet day and age, that can be done on the mass scale. But I also know who our president is, so idiots don't surprise me anymore. So, sorry to go there, but not sorry.
Well, let's go into some comic news.
Comic books. The Simpsons comic is coming to an end after 25 years.
Seriously?
Yeah, Bongo Comics has announced that the end is nigh. Whether you like them or not, whether you read them, I've never read a Simpsons comic in my life, I'll be honest. But they're a major staple in American pop culture. And they've been having a comic for 25 years. Anything that's been run 25 years that's not full of just garbage, which, read it or not, Simpsons is good.
I think Simpsons is fine. I've always thought Simpsons was fine.
It's a shame that's coming to an end.
Yeah, and if you're a comic speculator, go get that last issue. The last issue of a series is always something.
Yeah. So I wonder if Bongo as a whole is closing. I know I saw some Simpsons stuff floating around the internet, but I didn't really pay attention.
And I don't know what else they publish. If Simpsons is their bread and butter, then that might be the whole company. Might be.
Bongo, most of what they produce is Simpsons. Yeah, I don't know that they have much outside of that.
That's a shame.
In other comic book news, so we know that X-Men, Gold, Blue, and Red are all ending.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we found out the thing that they're bringing back is Uncanny X-Men. They haven't really said who the writers or artists or anything are going to be. I really enjoyed a lot of the Uncanny X-Men stuff whenever it was coming out. Giant Size X-Men #1 was one of my favorite books that I ever read.
Right.
Just a reprint of it, not the real thing. And then they also at the same panel announced that they're going to be doing a bunch of one-shots that are X-Men Black, and it's all villains.
Yeah.
So far they've announced that it's Magneto, Mojo, Mystique, Juggernaut, and Emma Frost. And I think all those start in October. So
yeah, we talked a little bit about that last week, and since then, apparently they've announced that Chris Claremont is actually writing the Magneto one.
Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah. They announced the teams. I don't have it in front of me, but they announced the writer-artist teams of all those. And also that every book, Black is leading to something that sounds like, because they're one-shot stories about each villain, but there's also a second story about Apocalypse in every issue.
Right.
Nice.
So I think that's building up to maybe an event or
Apocalypse probably being the big villain in Uncanny then.
Which Uncanny, I'm down for. To be honest, I haven't read X-Men in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's mainly because there's 15 X-Men books.
I read almost all the X titles right now, and so my opinion on, like, for nostalgia's sake, I'm super excited about getting Uncanny back. I feel like Marvel should always have a couple of different titles. You should have Amazing Spider-Man. You should have Uncanny X-Men. You should have the Avengers. You probably have Fantastic Four. But my thing is, we've been getting, like, you've been getting X-Men titles. You've been getting X-Men titles that have the characters that are famous from Uncanny X-Men. If you haven't been digging those, I don't understand. Like, you're probably not going to dig this one because it's not a content or a context shift, right?
Well, it's not, but I think like Sean touched on it a little bit, there were so many titles, and the teams, some of them were teams you didn't really know, and the gold is more like the Uncanny X-Men. It's the team you know.
And just so I can finish my thought before Caleb went off on
Oh, sorry.
just because I've been off all X titles and most stuff, and a lot of Marvel until recently, I'm looking forward to a new start of a new X-Men book so I can read it too.
Yeah.
Now you can finish, Caleb.
So I think it's going to bring some people back, which is, I'm sure, what their thought process is. Marvel seems to be going in a direction right now, going back to what worked for a long time for them. You know, you're still going to have the new characters, but they're getting their own books, but you're going to have classic characters in the books you know them in. Wolverine's coming back, so it makes sense you're going to have an Uncanny X-Men book because you're going to have Wolverine and probably Storm and Kitty and Peter. And you know, you're going to have the team that you're used to having in Uncanny X-Men. And then you'll have these, you know, a little offshoots here and there with the other teams.
And again, I'm going to pick it up. But my thing is, do you guys think that there is a segment of the readership that, like, just the nostalgia's sake of having an Uncanny X-Men book, that they will like it where they didn't like a book called X Gold or X Blue or X Red?
I mean, like, and I see your
like, do you think
100%.
something that
it depends on what the intent of the artist is in each panel.
I do think that throwing a retro name, going back to old school, will make some familiarity, and people are only safe in what they remember growing up in. Honestly, I think it's going to be a little more appealing for people like me who just fell out of X-Men books. Like, this sounds like it's sounding, because all the other titles are ending. Yeah. This is a good jump on point to get back into X-Men.
Well,
yes, there are those people out there who go, now it's called Uncanny, so it's got to be good.
Yeah,
because I remember that when I was a kid. Like, that's dumb. If you haven't, like you said, if you haven't been enjoying the product, there's a chance you might not enjoy the product.
I think it's because you have some X-Men coming back into the fold right now, so I think they're doing it so that so it's a good starting on point, and you're going back to some classic titles, and they're hoping it'll draw some people back. There's no doubt about it.
I hope so. I mean, obviously, more comic sales is better. It just, I don't know.
Yeah, I see your point, though.
The last run of Uncanny was pretty good with Magneto leading the team.
Yeah.
Well, all that stuff was really interesting, and that was like after they had what was the series that they had that switched everybody's like alignment
Schism.
or whatever.
Axis,
yeah.
Schism,
because they had Sabretooth post Axis on there,
so. And he's still that's still happening.
I still love that panel where he's talking about how was it Monroe. Or Monet was like one of the better people that he's ever like worked with, like based on their smell.
Right, but they were also fucking. So
yeah. But I mean, and then he goes into like what like different people smelled like and stuff like that.
That was actually a part of that has not that's a thread that they left dangling that I really wish they'd pick up on, because I really did enjoy the romantic relationship between Monet and Sabretooth, and they haven't really like ever addressed the fact that they just, like, once that title got canceled, they quit caring. And they're still both doing stuff. So,
well, I think that Marvel has had that issue for a little while now.
I think every comic does.
Well, yeah, absolutely, but it's been a lot of loose ends left out there because they've been trying so hard to get their feet really under them for a minute, I think. And I think that they've been trying a lot of different things for the past couple of years. Some have worked better than others, but I think that there's some loose threads certainly out there that I think they're getting ready to start tying up some of them.
All right, so over at the Distinguished Competition, They have not. I mean, they've announced some new titles that are coming out, but they also announced some pushbacks in the publication schedule. These things happen all the time. Really, not that big of a deal in the long run. The artists need more time to finish their stuff, but there's some of the bigger titles. Mr. Miracle number 11 is going to be pushed back a month, and then Justice League Odyssey, which is it's going to be a new series. So apparently, the Justice League is their X-Men, and they're going to have 50,000 titles, and it got pushed back to September. And I don't know what the Odyssey thing is. I need to look into that, because when I saw this, I didn't even realize they were telling me that a title I didn't know was coming out was getting pushed back. So I need to check it out.
So with the Justice League books, what you have is from No Justice, you had different people leading different teams in No Justice.
Yeah.
Those people are putting together teams like Justice League Dark just came out, and Wonder Woman's running that. She's trying to put together a team of magic-based heroes to work with her, and of course it's not working real well, but she's, the book was really good.
And I think Odyssey is supposed to be their more space-based.
It's their cosmic, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, speaking of delays,
Womp, womp.
recently announced in the newest issue of Saga that Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples will be taking a extended hiatus from the book. They're saying at least a year.
Yeah.
Which I understand, after 54 issues, other than taking, a month or two off for,
between
trades, basically, they need a break. They if they're starting to feel burned out, I hate it. We'll get into why a little bit later. But I understand burnout, especially in the career front.
Yeah.
And if you need to, it's better to do that than put the book in someone else's hands, or keep working through it and your product value going down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously we're going to talk about Saga later.
Yes.
This is a little bit scary for me. When books take this long off, you lose people in it. Now, granted, maybe you'll gain some people that are going to be able to get caught up.
Yeah.
And you'll actually get people that are now caught up that can start reading the floppies. People tend to...
Yeah.
People have short attention spans anymore. People forget the story. They forget about the book. Even one as good as Saga. And a year plus off is a long time in the comic world.
So, and not only that, but Saga is an amazing comic, but it's one of about, I could count like 15 amazing comics on the shelf right now. So we are not at we're not at a want for good comics these days. The timing of this is suspect to me, because of the announcement of the Why the Last Man series that Brian K. Vaughan also wrote, which is being adapted into a television show that I'm not sure what role he is playing in that. I don't know if he is an executive producer. I don't know if he is writing, doing some of the adaptation. But with that ramping up to be about to happen, and then the announcement they're taking a break from this, I don't think those two things are unrelated. I don't think that those two things are unrelated at all.
I think they just want some other people to be able to win some awards.
I think what it is Brian K. Vaughan actually got cast in Why the Last Man as Ampersand. So he's got to take some time off to film.
I did not think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually a fair, if not possibly true point. Like I said, I don't know his involvement. That being said, after reading the latest Kick-Ass and Hit Girls, where Millar was still writing and doing his Netflix production, quality dropped. I'm fine with the break,
for sure.
if that's what it takes.
And
I get year-long break, people lose interest, people move on. I'm not going anywhere. I'm so invested in Saga, I don't give a shit.
Well, I'm not going anywhere either, but I see that their sales will drop a bit.
They might, but that series is one of the series that sells more in trade than it does in single issue form.
Yeah.
Right.
That series is I don't know if you can call it a phenomenon, but it is popular outside of just mainstream comic readers. It is popular among a ton of people. Like, it's one of the best, it's one of the nationally most checked out books at the local library systems. It does amazing in Amazon sales. Like, it's...
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Saga was like one of the first Image series to start doing that 2-month hiatus.
No, it absolutely was one of the first.
Yeah,
and it was the $10 first trade paperback. And
I feel like it's actually like a really good thing that Image has started doing, because working at a comic book store, you want to get people into the current stuff, and since they do those breaks, it's just like, hey, get caught up on the trade paperbacks. And then when this goes on break, you can pick that one up, and then you can just start picking up the single issues, and you can stay current with it, so you don't have to worry about spoilers.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Plus, it gives time for the creative team to get ahead a little bit, so you don't have delays in production. You get each story arc released on time.
Absolutely.
So one of the series I'm really digging on right now from Marvel is Champions, and the creative team, just Sean Isaacs and Jim Zub, just released a little bit of like preview information for October, and it's all of their champion characters in like as like D&D characters, and as just these tropes, and they're going to Weird World, which is so like that's got me so giddy.
It looks fun.
It looks really good. Jim Zub writes some of the Dungeons and Dragons books. He's also writing the Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons crossover, so the role-playing aspect is definitely something that is very important to him, and he's very good at writing. So I'm excited about this. I love that book. I love those series. Been a fan of Mr. Isaacs since he was working at Lion Forge. So I don't know. I'm pumped about this. I want to see what's happening with my champions in like in D&D tropes.
So are they starting over, or I mean, is it starting over with a new volume, or is it just?
It's just a new arc. Yep,
okay,
just a new arc.
Yeah, I may jump on at that point.
That's basically what I was going to say. Like those covers made me want to jump on just because of that.
Braun is an orc. So Amadeus Cho, who was the Totally Awesome Hulk, who is now not, is just he's a character called Braun now. He really looks like an orc. It's amazing.
Awesome.
And Miles Morales Spider-Man is a rogue with daggers. It's amazing. Yeah,
they were all really cool looking. I love the designs. Speaking
of awesome, Scott Snyder is returning to the Bat. He and artist Jock are going to write the Batman Who Laughs. I'm assuming that's going to be in the DC Black
series. I would think so.
But for those that don't know, Jock's an amazing artist. If you've not ever read a book that he's done some artist in, you either weren't paying attention to who the artist was, but you need to. He's one of the best artists out there right now. And we know Scott Snyder, he for me was a little hit and miss on his Batman run. He gets a lot of accolades for his Batman run, but when he's on top of his game with Batman, it's some of the best Batman out there. So, and this being the Batman That Laughs, that's the Joker version of the Batman from the Metal series. I'm going to pick it up.
It's Jock.
It's Jock. It's in the Batman universe. So
I'm digging the title, actually, the Batman Who Laughs, which, if you may or may not know, the inspiration for the Joker, I don't know if it's ever officially confirmed, but it's widely acknowledged from an old movie called The Man Who Laughs.
Yep.
Yeah.
The ideas of his appearance, at least, came from that film.
It came out about 10 years before Bill Finger and Bob Kane and Jim Robinson wrote that character.
Right.
So it's deep cuts. That's awesome.
Did you ever?
I do good sometimes.
No, you do
Did
great.
you ever read the Dark Knight's Metal one shots?
I didn't read any Metal.
I'll have to dig up the Batman Who Laughs one.
Okay.
Like they were. I mean, I can't speak for the main title, but all those one shots were.
The one shots were much better than the series.
Well, in other Batman news, Batman is bringing back his classic look, and by classic I mean Hush era.
I was going to say, are we going back to blue and gray?
I wish. No, but they have been announced they are going back to the Jim Lee drawn Hush era style of Batman, which means we got the undies on the outside again.
Nice, getting the black shorts.
Yeah, as well as I don't know why it was always mentioned, but I just remember this in the era. Cause this is kind of what I was jumping in and out of DC Comics was during like the Hush era. I was picking up trades. It was a big deal when Jim Lee started drawing Batman because he gave him treads on his boots.
Right. Yeah.
Someone really pointed that out. Like that's the first time he's ever had like ass kicking boots, I guess, or something. So that's another nod to Jim Lee's amazing art, and they're going back to classic Batman. So I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
I mean, the new costume's been fine, but
are they going to give it the big pointy ears?
I hope not. I don't like the big ears.
Okay, let's round table that. No big ears, Craig.
I don't want the big ears.
I like big ears. Michael Turner drew them huge too, and I dug it.
I'm cool with any kind of costume changes. I think occasional costume updates, changes, going back is.
But specifically, literally, big ears.
Yeah. No, the
big ears are little ears. Good man.
Yeah. they literally just changed his costume though.
Yeah,
it is true.
I mean, it doesn't bother me either way. So we're getting back now. We've got Superman back in his classic outfit with the red trunks are back. It makes sense. It's kind of we're at a stage now where comic fans are feeling nostalgic about some of the things that they want to do. So they're throwing them a little bit of a bone. So,
we talked about Marvel going back to things that worked for them in the past.
Right.
DC's making that effort too.
Yeah.
Not that the current Rebirth stuff hasn't been great, because it has, or a lot of it has. They're going back to some things. Superman was great. Previous Bendis, I'm not making a judgment yet with that, but so I think
they're making DC great again.
I hate you. They're going back to some things that I think that they thought worked better in the past, and I'm okay with that. So
it's a good look. I mean, it's one of many good looks. So, and like you said, like Jerry pointed out, they do costume changes, especially for the Bat character, all the time. So, I'm cool with this, man. Let's look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you guys, that I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man and all the weird shit that they put out occasionally. And last 2 weeks, I think they've had so much Spider news, and it's all been like because of Spider-Geddon that's starting up.
Yeah.
They announced a three-issue series when that's going on with like just some crazy like alternate world Spider-Man. Well, it turns out Christopher Priest is going to be writing one of them. And it's Spider Force, and it's Paulo Siqueira.
Mm-hmm.
I just love just the thought of it, because it's like a suicide mission. And if you don't know who Kane is, he was like the evil version of Ben Reilly for a while there. He was like the imperfect clone of Peter Parker, and he was constantly deteriorating. After they had Spider Island, he had like basically a new lease on life and became the new Scarlet Spider. He's going to be joined by Spider-Woman, who is Ashley Barton, Hawkeye's daughter from the Old Man Logan universe. And then they're adding 2 new Spider people. Astro Spider, which is a pretty cool concept. He's like just a Spider-Man who is in space, so he's got like a spacesuit and stuff. And then Spider-Boy, and they say that he's like a kind of version of Peter Parker and Nightwing, kind of cross between. But I mean, the whole premise of it is they've got some kind of suicide mission that they're going on, and Kane's leading the team, and I'm stoked.
I'm going to call fake news on this, because I have it from very good sources that Christopher Priest is only allowed to write black characters in the Marvel universe.
See, now I hate you.
He had to throw that, so I'm going to throw this. Is Spider-Boy going to say fuck Spider-Man?
I hope so.
You said he had crossed with Nightwing, so I had to go with it.
So if y'all don't know, we're making fun a lot of the Comicsgate stuff because we hate those douchebags. So anyway, moving on from that. No, I have to say it, that they're idiots. And that was what Craig's joke was about. And So it just, like this kind of stuff, number one.
They can come on the show and fight me.
For real. You fight 2 men on that day. Maybe 4.
3.5.
I was going to say it before.
4 if Stephanie replaces Jerry.
Oh, we're going downhill fast. So I love Christopher Priest. Wrote one of the probably the best Black Panther run ever. If you haven't read Christopher Priest's Black Panther series, it's amazing. He kind of has. Christopher Priest is one of those writers that he has a certain style, and when you see a Christopher Priest book, you know it's a Christopher Priest book because of the way it's done. When you open it, you'll have this splash, and it'll tell you the city that he's in. And then, like, he just kind of scripts the same. The last book that I read that he worked on was a Justice League book from DC. I know he was doing Deathstroke there for a little bit.
That was
so, like, a Christopher Priest book when you read it. Mm-hmm. I'm excited about this. The weird stuff with Spider-Man, I feel like we're one step away from getting Cosmic Ghost Spider.
Spider-Man has been Captain Marvel before.
Pretty much, yeah.
So,
yeah.
That was a pretty cool costume, too.
It was.
Wait, did I just invent a character? Is Cosmic Ghost Spider a thing now?
No.
It should be.
It's not a ghost, but it was a Cosmic Spider.
I want Cosmic Ghost Spider. Because we have Cosmic Ghost Rider, we should have Cosmic Ghost Spider.
With the popularity of that character, I would not be surprised if they came out with a version in Spider-Geddon that is that. Where it was like Peter that died during the attack of Thanos instead of the castle.
I'm calling trademark on that right now. Okay. I invented it. It's mine.
I'm gonna make you sign it if it ends up being a thing.
All right, do we have any more news?
No.
Okay, cool. So we don't talk about a lot of prose books on the show, but we all read prose, I think, for the most part. this is one of those rare occasions where I'm going to tell you to go read a prose book. Our friend and a member of the Southern Fried family, Sean Michael Argo, has released the 6th novel in his Necrospace series. It's a really, really, really fun kind of salvage marine space odyssey adventure kind of craziness. This book is called Hard Cargo. If you're into space military fantasy, go check this out. You won't be disappointed. It's doing really, really good. Really, really fun.
Real quick, just for our listeners and totally not for me, what does prose mean in this reference? Yeah.
Prose is like long form writing. So you have...
As opposed to sequential art, which is comic books.
Oh, those fancy-ass college terms. Okay.
Yeah, no,
for our listeners, not for me.
So
you already knew.
But it's not just that. So like poetry is different than prose because the way that poetry is structured. Prose is long form. You're getting dialogue, you're getting plot, you're getting exposition. Just all in that form. It's long form.
There was an issue of Batman when Grant Morrison was writing it that I opened it up and the entire fucking book was written in prose and I closed the book and skipped it.
Oh, Grant.
Not that I don't love prose,
right.
But I don't buy comics to read prose.
I like it when it's both. Like Alan Moore's Providence had both. It had sequential art.
I skipped all the prose and
dude, the prose was good. No,
wasn't my favorite thing is monsters. When
a lot of it is prose. Yeah, a lot of it is prose. It's a mix.
Alan Moore likes doing that. I know he didn't do my favorite thing is monsters, but he also did it in Watchmen. There was a lot of prose.
Yeah,
in that
with
as well.
the newspaper stuff and all the news articles.
Which is I'm joking about Providence. I read some of it. I didn't read all of it because it was like letters at the back were in.
It was also done in like cursive handwriting.
And they're also doing that in Doomsday now. At the back of each issue, they have like.
I did not know that. I'm certainly not reading the prose part of Doomsday.
All right, so let's move on away from the news, and so we're going to do something different this week that I'm kind of excited about because it's showcasing some of Sean's talents. If you don't follow our social media accounts like Facebook and Instagram, you should because. What you'll see is each day Sean produces a drawing. He does these really, really stylized little pieces of art that are fantastic. And what he's done recently is he started taking requests from listeners and people who are on our Facebook. So Sean, what did you draw this week?
Well, it was a fun week. Sunday because I was too busy Saturday to draw anything.
Yeah.
Again, because it started as a New Year's resolution that I'm going to start drawing more and do a drawing every day. So if I miss, I double up. Sunday, I did Morbius the Living Vampire, as requested by Adrian Hill, good friend of mine.
Nice.
That same day, I also did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, requested by Kenny Starlin. Followed up Monday, Scarlet Witch, as requested by one Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
And it was amazing.
Thank you. Tuesday, Alucard from the anime manga Hellsing, as requested by Kyle Squeaky Heron. A longtime requester. He's done a lot of previous ones.
Does he? Cool.
Next was Wednesdays was Spike and Angel Vampire Face specifically, as requested by one Craig Lance.
Yeah, it was fantastic too.
Thursday, the entire crew of the Cowboy Bebop from the anime Cowboy Bebop.
I feel like you should get some credit for that one because that was like 5 people.
It was, and a dog. As requested by our friend Brian Thompson. Friday was Hellcat from requested by Stephen Wooder.
Yep,
that was a great
friend of mine.
Thank you.
Up in Michigan, really good guy.
And yesterday's was Commandy and Click Clack, as requested by Wendy Freeman.
Yeah, from the Double Page Spread podcast.
Indeed.
She is also a really good friend of ours.
She's made a few requests too in the past. Today's, which I hope I'll get to after I get off work late tonight. Sneak preview. It'll already be out by the time you hear this. King Ghidorah from Godzilla.
Nice, from that new trailer, man.
Which I'll mention again after the week roundup.
Yeah, he's only from the trailer.
Just so y'all know, for y'all listening out there, after today's request, I have none. So hit me up.
Yeah,
hit us up.
Those requests in.
Any which way you can on our medias. Request something. Otherwise, I'm just going to draw whatever comes to mind, and we don't want that. Savage Dragon.
It's really, really fun to see what you come up with. And so just watching you, like you said, you're drawing every day, and you're it's developing. You can go back and see what you started with the first of the year.
Wow. Especially from the beginning when I probably hadn't sat down and drew anything seriously in years.
Yeah.
And then you added colors at some point, and that was impressive. And
inks and shadows can only go so far before you want to start adding some color.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, that Hellcat piece you did is the best piece I've ever seen you do.
Disagree. I'm pretty sure it's Leonardo da Vinci.
He was a sexy Leonardo da Vinci.
He was a sexy Leonardo.
As I commented, like Craig talked about that issue. I don't remember looking at the actual pages, but when Jerry requested it, which by the way I did a Leonardo da Vinci from Marvel Comics as requested by Jerry Smith, I was like, wow, that's a sexy old man for Leonardo da Vinci. I wasn't expecting it.
Not the only one. Love it when I'm not the gayest one at the table. It's always nice. Send them your requests. It's really fun getting these little, especially the more obscure characters that.
Oh, I love it. I mean, the last one I did, Commandy and his giant grasshopper Click Clack. That was an interesting draw.
Yeah, that's a Jack Kirby creation from way back in the day.
Yeah.
So we also had some listener questions that got sent in, and again, where you can go on our social media site and ask us questions. I've actually set up a Google form, so if you don't want your name attached to it, you can do it anonymously. And we did have an anonymous question sent in, but we had a friend, and so we're going to get into a little nepotism at this point in time because she is a friend and listener, but she is also the love interest of one Mr. Jerry Smith, Stephanie Straw, and she sent us in a few questions. So we've got 3 that we're going to answer today because we got more than what we could talk about. So we're going to kind of split them up, and we're going to get more questions. So
question 5 is being saved till the very end.
Yes,
that's the last one on the list, right?
So an anonymous listener asked us on our Google Forms, what is best in life? And of course, the answer to that is to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of the women. I don't know who sent that in. Somebody knows I love Conan, and so thank you for that because it made me smile real big. So Stephanie asks, what is the first comic you remember reading? And I'll let somebody else start us off on this because it took me a minute to figure this one out.
And it may not be the correct answer, but the first one I remember, at least truly remember reading that actually affected me was someone brought the trade paperback of the Frank Miller Wolverine miniseries.
Yeah.
In like junior high school, early 90s. I read that and it was like, I just remember that being in, which is funny coming from me now who is very adamantly against Wolverine comics. But maybe this is why. I started early with a lot of Wolverine books, but I remember that probably being the first real like sitting down and reading comics and knowing what a comic book is.
Right.
Yeah.
The first one I remember reading was a Green Lantern comic.
Mm-hmm.
Don't remember what issue it was, or the number anyway. But it was an issue where Hal Jordan found out how fucked up Sinestro is to like the people on his planet and how he makes them treat him like royalty essentially, and they're trying to fight back against him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pretty interesting issue. Like it was good stuff. I actually got it from they used to have this place on the base. My stepdad was in the military. And we used to go to this place and eat all the time, and they had like a little arcade thing there with like little games where you can get tickets, and some of the prizes were comics, and that was the prize that I picked.
Nice.
Yeah. Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, so when I was a kid, it was back in the day when you could still get comics off spinner racks at convenience stores and drug stores, liquor stores, any place like that. And my dad used to just randomly pick me some up. And the earliest ones I remember were usually like Casper and Wendy.
Right.
Any of the old Harvey comics that were geared towards kids. I still have a love for those old kids comics. I still collect those old kids comics. You know, then as far as one that I've talked about this before, but that I actually requested to go to a store and buy was Richie Rich. They had the Richie Rich cartoon on TV Saturday mornings, so I wanted the Richie Rich comic books. And then as far as when I was a adolescent or a preteen, and it was always Mad Magazine that I wanted then. So
nice.
Yeah.
So the first comic, the first sequential art that I ever remember reading was actually a Samson. It was a retelling of the biblical story of Samson that I got from an individual at my church.
I think I read that too.
Yeah, it very well could have been. Which is funny now because
I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, well, and there actually there's been several things like that are like biblical comics that tell the story.
My parents gave me the entire Bible in comic form.
It's interesting. It gets kids. It's another way to get kids into comics. I'm now kind of a self-avowed atheist, so it's kind of funny that my first comic was a Bible story, but that was the first one I remember reading. The first mainstream comic, or at least mainstream character comics that I remember getting, Pizza Hut did a promotional thing with Marvel Comics when I was very young. and I'm 30 now, so we're looking at probably, I might have been 5 or 6, so very young. And I got an X-Men comic from Pizza Hut. And that is the first mainstream character comic I remember reading. And then, honestly, one of the, I was probably way too young to get it, but I got a Michael Turner Fathom comic as a very young child.
Nice.
And also, now I'm gay, so.
Side note, because I didn't know, like, you know, if we were going to count comic strips, but long before I started reading comic books, I was all about them Garfield collections.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And Calvin and Hobbes.
I remember sitting with my grandpa, because my grandpa read the funnies. And I would sit in his recliner with him on his knee, and we would read the funnies together. It's some of my favorite memories, man.
You brought up Calvin and Hobbes. My son Zane has the entire collection.
Very cool.
Yeah.
My friend Brian bought me the hardbound 3-volume edition of like the entire collection.
My cousin's parents had the Boondocks collections.
Very nice. Boondocks is great.
Yeah. All right, so the second half of Stephanie's 2-part question was, what is your X-Men dream team with 5 mutants? So make your own X-Men team using 5 mutants. And I'll kick us off on this one. Mine would be Magic, Monet, Marrow, Quentin Quire, and a Knoll.
You have to change Quentin Quire and Knoll because they don't start with M's. You were doing a lot of alliteration.
You had a nice alliteration up until I got there. So.
That's the, I should have gone all the way. I could have done all.
No, those were good
all
choices for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Craig?
Well, I told Stephanie last night that my choice was Gambit, Gambit, and Wolverine. But that's not really my choice. Gambit, Wolverine, Franklin Richards, Hope Summers, and Namor would be my dream team.
What was that last one?
Namor.
Namor?
Namor.
No, Namor. He's a better version.
No.
I've always said Namor. I know people say
Ultimate
Namor.
No, Ultimate Namor? Okay.
So, Namor.
I honestly, I could not hear you when you first said
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah. I didn't really want to give you credit for picking your favorite guy.
I almost did. Almost picked him.
Like, literally, my team is just literally my favorite X-Men. There's like
That's what mine is.
No
There was no
tactical
thought.
reasons behind it, though. I will acknowledge the first one is the leader, is Storm, followed by Beast, Gambit, Rogue, and Nightcrawler.
Very cool. It's
a
kind of
good
a classic team. Yeah,
That's
it's a really
my
good
X team. Those are my favorite X characters.
I mean, I essentially did it.
Right, I think we all did.
But I did have a bit of reasons for each person. They have each person has their purpose. You know, there's a healer and the
I had
fighter.
no.
Silver Samurai.
Okay.
For like, you know, leader. Elixir. I mostly read him in X-Force.
He's a healer.
while back, but he's a healer. He's the kid that's always gold.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I didn't read that era of X-Men.
He's dead right now because they dropped him into a cloud.
Yeah.
As it happens.
Nightcrawler, but Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler. If you never read Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force, he fucking was fighting AOA Blob, and they were surrounded by like a shark tank, and he fucking teleported a shark into the blob. That scene, I was sold. It was fucking beautiful. I picked Psylocke. And then for my last one, I went a little weird with it, and I guess technically not a mutant, but Kid Gladiator.
Okay.
You read Wolverine and the X-Men, right?
He's a mutant.
Yeah.
He's considered a mutant.
Okay, because I was about to say the same thing they told Deadpool. He can't join the X-Men if he's not a mutant.
But
he's technically
he is a mutant?
Yeah, because I mean they had a lot of weird characters in Aliens because it was him and I can't remember what her name, Warbird was his guard or whatever. And then they also had that Brood kid.
Yeah. But they were mutants of their race. Even though they're not humans, they're mutants.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But, So
because that's the only way you're going to go to the Professor Xavier School for the Gifted
Youngsters.
Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, when we get done with here, I'm going to go put up a thread on our Facebook page. If you listen to this, come look for it. It'll be on our Facebook page. Tell us what your mutant team is. 5 mutants. What your X team is, and you can be as minimal as you want to, or you can expound poetically about why if you would like to. Either way,
all 5 cuckoos.
I almost put the Stepford cuckoos, but I felt like that was cheating.
There's only 3 left.
Yeah, well, ish.
You're not reading X-23, are you?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
yeah.
Ish. Like I said, ish. So starting next week, we're going to be doing something a little bit special because it's the first of the month. On the first episode of each month, we're going to do kind of a spotlight on either a character or a creator or a concept. Each month, one of us will pick a topic, and all of us will get to do a little bit of homework and then talk about what our favorite thing is. And so in order to figure out who goes first, just in the spirit of fairness, we're going to roll D20s to see who gets to go first.
Go ahead, Sean.
10.
8.
13.
17.
I win. Boo. Fuck you.
That's probably going to be like Namor or something.
It is actually going to be Namor.
God damn it.
Actually, no, Namor was what I had it to be down first, but I think I changed my mind. I want to do Marvel's Hercules. So the character that we're going to spotlight next week is Marvel's Hercules.
Hercules?
So
I was going to totally call Namor on purpose.
you still can. You can your favorite thing can be when Hercules and Namor are together, and he calls him Namor. So yeah, look forward to that next week, guys. We're going to have some Hercules talk from everybody. So, all right, hey Sean, Jerry, why don't y'all serve up a bowl of Manga ramen? Manga ramen.
Whoa.
Why don't y'all
You've
serve?
almost got to try it one more time.
Hey
Take
Sean
three.
and Jerry, why don't y'all serve up a bowl of Manga ramen?
Well, Caleb, we just might do that.
I'm so off my.
We have a pretty interesting one. This is going to be a Jerry heavy-centric episode because this is a show, while don't hate, never really got into. Jerry, why don't you break it down?
The series that we're going to be getting into is Yu Yu Hakusho. I know the name sounds really
Bless you.
weird and crazy. But it started off as a Shonen Jump series, and it originally ran from December 3rd, 1990 to July 25th, 1994. It had 19 volumes altogether.
Oh, wow.
And then they started an anime series for it. I'm most familiar with it whenever they put it on Toonami back in the day.
Which I think is where, obviously it's where its fan base here in America, as most anime early, especially those early shows like that in the 90s came from.
And it's one of those few shows that I will watch nowadays, and I'll absolutely watch the dub. I really liked the English voice casting for it, and I guess it's like that with a lot of Adult Swim and
well, especially back then when you
Toonami
didn't
days.
necessarily have a whole lot of exposure to anime. All we had was the English dub. Yes, Caleb.
Can I? So what do you mean when you say dub?
English dubbed language, meaning that they dubbed over the original Japanese voice acting with American voice actors.
Think kung fu movies from the 60s.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
or
luckily
Godzilla.
Yeah. But yeah, because back then they all were in English. You could find. I remember back I talked about renting VHS tapes from Hastings back in the day. Some had English dub, some were in the original Japanese dialogue with subtitles.
Okay, they do have subtitles when they're.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. When they're released over here, they're officially licensed over here. They come with subtitles because they don't English dub everything.
Right.
But the shows, like you said, mentioned Toonami. It was Cartoon Network's block of anime in the 90s that popularized Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Trigun, Outlaw Star, all these great anime from the 90s. And that's definitely where this one came from. And yeah, the English dub is solid. Mm-hmm. Whether it's, we forgive some of the bad, just because that's what we knew here. We heard it growing up, that's what we're used to. But there were some damn good ones, like a show we'll eventually really get into, Cowboy Bebop, one of the best English dubs out there. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
So Yu Yu Hakusho is it's a lot of different genres wrapped up, but at most it's a supernatural martial arts series. You've got this 14-year-old kid named Yusuke Urameshi, and he's in high school, but he skips all the time, and everybody's afraid of him. They consider him the bully, basically.
He's a delinquent.
Yeah.
He's a nice kid, but he will kick the shit out of you.
A ne'er-do-well.
Yeah. Well, you kind of find out that he's more kind of got an altruistic, part of him. And there's only one girl in their entire school that even talks to him because she basically sees what he's really like and everything. And I think there's also this whole word of mouth rumor thing circulating him of how scary and shit he is. But the series starts off the first episode. He gets hit by a car and dies.
Saving a kid.
Yeah.
He's about to get run over.
Yeah. He gets contacted by these people from the spirit world, and they're like, hey, listen, you weren't supposed to die at this point. We fucked up, so we're going to give you a second chance, and you have to go through this stuff and kind of prove that you deserve to come back to life.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah. Well, because he was acting out of character, essentially. Like, all the ways that they were like, oh, he could die this way or this way or this way, like, saving a kid was not one of those. And he kind of, like, sort of went off his own, you know, rails doing this. And it's kind of funny to find out, because he did save a kid, that if he didn't jump in the way of this car, that the kid would have just walked away with a scratch. Like, the car would have narrowly missed him. So instead, what happened is he gets hit by this car and fucking dies, like, eats it. So, like, that first story arc is him trying to prove and do these things, these nice things for the people that were around him as a ghost to kind of get his body back. And long story short, he does. After that, he kind of has these spiritual psychic abilities, and he can build like psychic energy. So at that point, Spirit World hires him to be their spirit detective and go and kind of take care of these problems that they can't handle like on their own, that they need a human to deal with. And it just starts this whole thing of like him meeting other people that kind of have the same thing going on, and then them getting all like joining together to, you know, combat these great evils and stuff like that. And he's just like, it's crazy because he's this person that was a normal human. I mean, above average strength at best, I would say.
A damn good street fighter. Yeah. Like, he got into it a lot with one of who becomes his allies is Kurabara, who is another delinquent in the school. And they're like rivals. It's because they want to be the toughest tough guy, and Urameshi usually beats the shit out of him. But then he gets involved. He gets caught up in some of the, because there's haunting, like powerful, strong ghosts and demons and stuff who are affecting the world. That's who they have to go fight. So it starts off very much like, you know, about Urameshi and just kind of doing investigations. Then which led into the part that everyone tells me I had to hold out on, but you know, I know it's ironic. I keep telling you have to get so far in One Piece before it gets good. But the Dark Tournament, which is just as it sounds, a fighting tournament full of demons and his team, and it's, you know, it's a shonen anime. It's about friendship and fighting. So
and every character kind of has their other side. Like we talked about Yusuke being a little more altruistic than he comes out. Kuwabara is like this big punk or whatever, but like he has a super soft, sweet spot. Like there's one of the first episodes you see with him after Yusuke comes back, are these people are like blackmailing him because they have a kitten that was his. And they're threatening to do things to his kitten if he doesn't steal shit for him. Yeah, but you find out that those people were like possessed by a fucking demon or whatever.
Of course they are.
And then like you get joined.
Japanese. There's always a demon of some sort.
It's Japan. It happens.
They as their adventures go, they get joined by two other people that are from the demon world. There's one Hiei who's like basically their moody like short guy who's like stupidly powerful that reluctantly joins their crew. And then they have Kurama, who ends up being he's a fox demon, but his whole thing was like a little different. He was injured escaping from some enemy in the human world, and because he couldn't go back into his spirit form, he joined with a human child. And joining with this human child, he kind of fed off of that life, and then started feeding off the life of his parent.
Yeah.
And then he ended up like, you know, being like in love with his parents and everything, like just, you know, not particular demon behavior. And his mom gets sick when Yusuke first finds him. His mom starts getting sick, so he's going to trade his life for his mother's. And Yusuke basically helps him find other means to do that. So they kind of join this motley crew and just go on, you know, solving all these mysteries and stuff like that, and fighting all these big world-ending events and stuff like that. It was
so, like I said, it was one of the early animes for you, especially.
Oh yeah.
So, like, you know, what about it was that really? Because like I said, you were more into it than I ever was.
Yeah.
So what about it that drew you in?
For me, in a lot of stuff, and it's even my thing into X-Men, I love seeing like the diversity and stuff in all their abilities and their powers. Nobody really has like the same kind of techniques and stuff like that. Like Yusuke, where he is like a very physical fighter, he learns that he can project energy. So he kind of adapts this. His first technique is Spirit Gun, where he just like points his finger and he can shoot energy out of that, and then he like advances it and makes like a spirit shotgun where he does it with his fists and it creates blast. Kuwabara, he ends up making a spirit sword out of his energy, and then he can manipulate that and everything. And it's just kind of like watching them change and grow as characters. And like I said, the Dark Tournament was one of the best parts because you get to see like how all these like demons and stuff use all of their abilities, and you don't really have anyone that's exactly like the other.
And the last time I tried to watch through it again, I got to the I think it was like the 3 or 4
Saint Beasts,
yeah, which is very cool. They were all just like they're demons that are like basically beast men forms, and it turns into a good fight. Just no real particular reason, just always something comes up and I kind of drop the show.
That was what I was fixing to ask. So we asked Jerry what about it made him really, really like it, and it sounds like you said you're less inclined to enjoy it. I was going to ask if there was a reason why, but
I mean, the action is good.
Yeah,
it's fine to me. Personally, for me, and just I don't know. I don't want to say like no, Jerry doesn't watch as much as I do, but I think I got a little bit more variety in my anime that I probably watch more so than you. Mm-hmm. And it's a good action shonen show, but it doesn't hold up for me like One Piece or My Hero or even some classic ones like Outlaw Star or Trigun.
I think a big part of it too is me having that nostalgia factor of watching it whenever I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it made me so interested in it then that I wanted to go back and watch it again.
With us having a damn near 8-year age difference, 9-year age,
yeah.
By the time he was watching like Yu Yu Hakusho, I'd already been renting a variety of anime. Seeing a bunch of different stuff because I'm older than him, so it's not a bad show. I recommend it to anyone who wants to check it out. Just never did much for me. But we were discussing when we were bringing up this show. It was funny was renting VHSs from Hastings before the show ever got put on Toonami over here. They put out a VHS tape of an OVA or a movie special called Poltergeist Report, which is Yu Yu Hakusho, just as a short movie.
Okay.
I think it was like 45 minutes, maybe an hour long.
And that was the original name for it. Was it? Yeah, before they were going to call it Yu Yu Hakusho, they were going to call it Poltergeist Report.
Yeah. And it's short version. Like, I watched it, and I was like, I have no idea what the hell's going on, because it was, in Japan, it was made, at least definitely after the manga came out. I'm not sure about if it came out before or after the anime, but it definitely was released here first, and he had no context. This is dude shooting beams out his finger. This dude's got a broken wooden sword handle that turns into an energy sword.
Yeah.
And it's kind of awesome. So, like, when the show came out, I was watching it. Just didn't stick with it.
I guess they got lucky in who they picked, because if I get hit by a car trying to do something good, and then I get to wherever you go after that, and some little spirits is like, hey, like, if you hadn't have done the right thing, then you wouldn't have died. But we're going to give you we're going to let you go back and try to do more right things. And you're like, look, you got me fucked up. Like, I'm not doing anything good ever.
It's absolutely the difference between Japanese culture and American culture. Because our culture is, hey, you did the right thing. Here's your reward. You're going to heaven. Theirs is like, nope, you only did it once. You can go back and try again and see if you can still keep doing right.
Jerry might be able to correct me. Like, wasn't it kind of like, well, if you stay dead and don't do this because you've been an asshole for a lot of your life, you're going to hell?
Yeah, yeah. You basically get sucked into this like eternity or whatever of just shit where spirits, wandering spirits go.
But you did something good, so we'll cut you a break. You know what I'm saying? So.
Gotta love Japanese culture.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because he's just sitting there floating and he's like, well, I guess I'm dead.
So you guys have a lot more of the cultural knowledge and cultural relevance. So the Japanese don't conceptualize demons in the same way that Western culture does. Am I correct in that?
There's definitely more variety. Like when you say demon, like here in Western culture, you usually typically think of either the classic red horned Satan devil,
a satanic
or
demon.
Just like some kind of evil monster. While like in Japan, their spirits, their okami, are generally could be anything from straight up ogre with like horns and fangs that carry club and eat human flesh, to just like literally an umbrella with one eyeball in the folds, and it's instead of a handle, it's got a foot that will hop and chase you.
Yeah, they literally have ghost stories for everything over there.
Like literally, there are ghost walls. Like just walk into an alley and make a wall so you can't go through your alley anymore, just to fuck with you. it's very cool. And as a Yu Yu Hakusho, they pull in a lot of that from Botan, his spirit guide that kind of shows them away. She's like kind of looked at, like in Western, you kind of like, oh, she's a witch riding a broom, but she's riding a boat oar, and that's actually part of a spirit that's in Japan.
Yeah, and I think she's pretty much the goddess of death.
Yeah,
like Charon or
like you can think like the boatsman over the river Styx, so she kind of has her boat oar that she sits on like a witch's broom.
Remind me to tell you some of the secret history of how like the witch's broom became a thing someday.
I probably knew it at one point because I loved like that.
It involves LSD and bored housewives.
Well then.
Yep, true story. That's where that came from. And I'll tell you when you're older, kids.
But yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho, a classic anime, like a big part of a lot of, especially Jerry's generation. I highly recommend it.
I don't know if I'm sold on that one. You've sold me on some of the other ones before. I don't know if I'm sold on that one.
Like I said, I'm not trying to downplay it at all because I get a lot of hate already from our friends for it. To me, it's a solid show, but it's very middle of the road.
Okay,
it's not like it never touched me like it did like One Piece or My Hero or a ton of other anime I want to talk about on this Manga Ramen when we get the chance.
And it's one of the ones that doesn't necessarily hold up as well. The things that some of the stuff that it did in the show was like really cool, like new, this is happening now. But I mean, nowadays, you have so many shows that have already done that type of thing. And then they also have like the arc that he was talking about was the big pendulum. And then they did an arc after that, and I don't think it got as...
What was that word?
Yeah.
Try it again.
Pentultimate? Pentultimate means the next before the last.
I thought it was pendulum.
We like words on this show.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm looking it up.
But what he's saying though, like, as compared to a lot of other shonen action books and anime, it has humor, which honestly for me never really struck very good. Other than Kurobara, he's a trip. It's because he's that lovable dumb idiot. But then, like I said, you hit that dark tournament, which everyone talks about. That's the thing. But it's supposed to be like that part, like we say in One Piece with Arlong Park. Get to there, and then the series just goes.
Right.
It peaked at dark tournament, and then it kind of went downhill. For whatever time, I never made it that far, but universally agreed, dark tournament's amazing. Kind of dropped from there.
Yeah, and I still enjoy all the stuff that happened after that, and then they have a tournament at the very end of it that's just fucking ridiculous. But yeah, no.
Did you discover what penultimate is?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
How do you feel?
Great. Can we continue with this goddamn podcast?
Yeah, we're moving on. We're going to talk about some comics.
Icky Docky Moss.
All right, so let's get Smother'd-Cover'd and comment.
Woo! Yeah, so I'm going to talk about a book that kind of goes along with a conversation we were having earlier about the United States being too large and too diverse to survive as a country within the current state because it's so divided by cultural differences throughout the country. We've gotten so big and so culturally divided that it might make sense to be in different countries.
Right.
So the book is The New World. It's Image Comics, and it's by Alice Cott. Wrote it. Trad Moore does the art, and Heather Moore does the coloring. And let me just start with, first of all, the art in this book's phenomenal. It's Trad Moore, he's perfect for this book. I can see there might be some books that he wouldn't be perfect for, but for this book, perfect. It's set in the year 2037, but it honestly could be set next year.
Right.
And it would be fine. Over 5 major U.S. cities, nuclear devices are detonated. No one takes credit for them. This dives our country into the next civil war. What emerges after the Civil War is 3 new countries in a large area of no man land. So you have what we currently call the South right now, which is really the Southeast, which is one country. Then you have the Northeast is one country. And then you have New California, which is basically California and all of the Southwest. So
essentially everything on the border of Mexico.
Yes, down to Texas.
Yeah, and Louisiana, I think. Looking at that map.
Yeah, so all the way down, Texas and Louisiana are in the southern one. This story takes place in the New California. And then there's a large section of Big Sky Land, the north, that's just no man's land now. Apparently, no one cares what's going on there. They don't. So the story takes place based on this. Cops are now reality television stars. They capture the criminal, then they have people call in while they hold the criminal down for the next 30 or next minute. People call in and vote. whether they should erase the person, which is kill them, or allow them to just go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, quick side note for the young ones out there. At one point, cops were reality TV stars
Yes.
in the real world.
They still kind of are.
Well,
Yes.
there was a show called Cops back in the early 90s.
Live.
But these are like superstars. They're individual
Right.
people that are, think like American Gladiator, except they're cops.
Another show from the 90s.
Yes. So she captures the main cop here, Stella Maris. She captures, or the main protagonist, I'm assuming, based on this being the first issue. And guys, this is let me just step back for a sec. This is a very thick comic book for a $5 fee. You get a lot of content for that $5. So it's going to take me just a second to get through it. So she captures a criminal. They vote for her to erase him, and she says, "It's like you guys don't even know me. I don't erase anybody." And she takes him in. Well, in the meantime, there's a new hire at the studio that she works for, and they're bringing in this guy, and they get him through, and he's up there, and he sets off an EMP, resets their network, and broadcasts all over their network that just says "Smash the police state." And then he turns around and walks out. Everybody's in this panic that somebody was actually able to take over. So he leaves. She goes home that night. She, unknown to her, they actually monitor every movement she makes outside of being on the show, because they want to make sure she's not doing something. They know she likes to party and things like that, but they just want to make sure that, it's kind of a dystopian state at this point. And so she goes home, she goes to bed, wakes up, she's having a nightmare, decides to go out and party, gets drunk, gets high, goes in the bathroom and fucks a dude. And the dude she fucks happens to be the dude that set off the deal and broadcast. And the guy that's watching it goes, "Oh shit." Well, the flip side of this is her dad is the president of New California. Grandpa is the president of New California. And he shows up at her place of business the next morning, and she's like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "Well, you're going to go out with this other cop today that happens to be one that chooses to kill people. And you're hunting," and it's a picture of the dude that she fucked the night before. And so that's how it ends. And it was a great first book.
It was.
Just a fantastic first issue into this world. And I kind of have an idea where it's going, but I think I may be wrong. So be interesting to see where it goes.
I'm going to have to find it, because I was really wanting to pick it up this week.
I'm sure there's a reason that, somebody probably told our local comic book store not to supply books for Alice Cott would be my...
Well, no, but it was an Image #1 that none of the other shops in our area had it either. So,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's not something there, but I had a hard time. I actually had to read this digitally because I forgot to pre-order it.
It was fantastic. Everything about it. There was no part where I was bored in it.
No.
I mean, it's, like I said, it's very, even though it takes place in the not too distant future, it's very current with what's going on in our country, and you could very easily see us get to this state if things don't change somehow in this country.
It's a very dense book conceptually.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. Well, you look at, like you mentioned Cops earlier. There's a new show out now called Live PD, where essentially they're live showing you actual police units doing things across the country, and in many ways, some of these people are becoming famous because they follow the same cops.
Right.
And we are making, in many ways, we're televising the police state. We're monetizing law enforcement.
This reminded me a little bit of that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and I can't think of the name of it right now. Running Man, where even though they're not cops, they're put out there, and then like the killers come in to hunt them down. They're criminals, and it's kind of the same thing. It's the same concept, except they're actually out wherever they are in the country hunting them down. So.
And then, like you said, man, Tradmore's art. Are you guys familiar with Tradmore? Have y'all seen much of this stuff?
Not top of my head, no.
Imagine 60s pop art dipped in manga. Yeah, I'll pull up some pictures here in a minute and show it to you, because like I said, I know that sounds weird, but imagine, like I said, the 60s, weird colors, bright and psychedelic.
He did the Luther Strode stuff, didn't he?
Yes, yeah,
So-
he did.
I know that.
Yeah,
And you can see the manga influence as that
absolutely.
progressed. It
Absolutely.
was, yeah.
yeah,
Okay, then I know the art.
yeah. It's,
I have that book. Thank you,
it's
Craig.
so good, so good. All right, well, I guess I'm up to bat next. So, I read a #1 this week as well from Boom Studios. They produced this. I read Bone Parish #1. It's written by Cullen Bunn, drawn by Jonas Scharf, and colored by Alex Guillamares. And this book, I'm unabashedly a lover of Cullen Bunn's writing. He writes horror. He's one of the best horror writers in comics today, and he does so with a little bit of a southern flair, which, I mean, I'm on a podcast called Southern Fried Geekery, so
Not wrong.
Essentially, what this book is, it's a crime drama, it's a supernatural drama, it's a little bit of like voodoo culture from New Orleans, and so what you have here is there is a family that they have found a way to monetize a drug. And this drug is actually made out of the bones of deceased people. And so what they've figured out a way to do is to turn the bones of the deceased into a drug that gives you a psychedelic experience that allows you to inhabit the memories and bodies of the corpse that they ground up and made into your little powder that you snuff up your nose. So the book opens and you've got this guy who, Jonas Scharf did a wonderful job of showing him looking like he was high. So he's walking through the streets of New Orleans and he's singing. And he looks like a crazy person because he kind of is, because he's drugged out of his mind. But it shows you, like, what he's seeing is he's a rock star. He's a rock star in front of a giant crowd, just being amazing, and that's the body that he's inhabiting. So the book goes on and it gives you an idea of what this drug does. The book then goes to a place that gives you the breakdown of this family structure and how it works, who these people are, some of their. You get these character introductions. There is the mother who is kind of she's the mother. She's the one who is kind of leading the family. There is an outside group, some, I guess you'd call them New York mafiosos, mobster types, that have came in and said, hey, we want to buy you out, completely just buy you out. They're not comfortable with that. They're not ready to give up this money pit. They're not ready to give up their secrets of how they make this, the magic, the voodoo ritual. This is kind of the house that they built, and so they're wanting to maintain that. Like I said, it's an equal part crime drama to the horror story, and so that just really hit me. And so you're getting these amazing landscape scenes of New Orleans, places that I've been to, I've seen. He completely captures the tone of the moment and the spirit of what New Orleans is. At the end of the book. Not really spoiling anything, the mother has been talking to this man that you assume is a business partner and or a lover for the longest time, and what you end up finding out is that she's dipping into her own stash. She has turned her deceased lover or husband into the drug, and it's a different drug than what other people are getting, because instead of seeing the world through him, she's able to communicate with a hallucinogen of him. So I'm not really sure how that works. There's a little bit of, I'm sure it's going to be explained because I trust Cullen Bunn. I think it's meant to throw you off, but it's a purposeful inconsistency in what this is, and I think that's going to play in a very large part to what goes on in the plot as the story goes on.
Well, I think we had a hole in our soul that was left when Harrow County ended.
I still do.
And Cullen Bunn knew he had this coming out right on the heels of that. I mean, there's no coincidence this is starting the month after Harrow County ends. Right. So,
and it was kind of awesome because we just had those two horror comics end, and then this is popping up. So we get it's awesome.
It's a fantastic book.
It really is. I immediately. So with #1s, I don't automatically put #1s on my pull list because I've got a bad habit of forgetting that I put things on my pull list, and I don't want to leave my local comic book shop stuck with a comic that I'm not going to buy. Right. So I immediately got through reading this, called my local comic book shop and said, put this book on my pull list. I want it. I'm on it. Like give me every issue.
forever.
Right after you did that, I went in and picked the last one off.
Did you? So. Yeah, it's like I said, it's Cullen Bunn doing what Cullen Bunn does best. He knows he's in a sandbox. He knows what he's doing. He's utilizing these characters and the themes and the tones to create a really dark, emotional tale. And I'm sold. And the art's gorgeous. Jonas Sharp, I've never read anything that he's drawn before, but he does a wonderful job. Wonderful job.
As much as I love Cullen Bunn's superhero stuff, his independent creator-owned stuff is where he really shines to me.
Especially on horror.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you consider Six Gun horror? I kind of do.
It
because
is
it's got a lot of
paranormal.
Supernatural, paranormal.
Yeah. So
it's kind of funny, and not to like discredit this at all, but and to reference something just completely dumb. Whenever I was reading this, I thought of How High. When because I think it was Method Man's friend dies at the beginning.
Yeah.
So then he makes weed out of his ashes, and then whenever he smokes it, like that guy pops up, and then he uses him to get through college.
Oh, nice. You said voodoo, and I started thinking of our friend Big Mike doing Bushmaster.
You talk rude to me. It's great. So really encourage you to go out and pick this book up. Also, just kind of a side note, a shout out. Cullen Bunn and Dennis Hopeless have started their own little YouTube thing. It's called Missouri Swagger because both of those dudes live in Missouri, and so they get together and do this. They have a Skype conversation for 15 or 20 minutes one time a week where they just talk about the craft, talk about the writing, and their buddies, and so it's just kind of a glimpse into their lives. Not the best production quality in the world, but I mean, who are we to judge?
And don't leave us for them. Just in between listening to our episodes.
You get 15 to 20 minutes of those dudes just
really
chit-chatting.
Great, well-known comic book writer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we had dinner with him.
Kind of.
Yeah. We had dinner in the same restaurant.
Yeah, that was fun. All right, so who's next, guys?
Well, I'm up next, but I need to precede this book with a few words. Spoilers.
And more spoilers.
Spoiler. What was Robin's girlfriend before she was Robin? Spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
That's our opener. That's it.
I read Saga 54 this week.
And if you're reading Saga by trade?
Spoiler. Spoiler for the last issue, because at the very end of issue 53... The Will ripped off Prince Robot's head in front of Marco. So what happened afterwards was an entire issue of Marco and the Will throwing down. Beautifully narrated by Hazel. Thank you. Hazel narration as always through the book. Of course, Fiona Staples' beautiful artwork through it all. Brian K. Vaughan's masterful writing. But it was just a simple issue, to be honest. It was a fight between the Will and Marco.
There was not a lot going on.
From where Marco took out his the lance, the extendable lance, and destroyed his hand in the process of it, and just going back and forth, and Marco getting the best of the Will at one point, and about to just finish him with his fighting with just a shield like Captain America Ultimates, about to just finish this dude, and chooses not to. And then to get up and because he's been over killing because he was a soldier in the very beginning. He's kind of I'm done killing. And then as he's walking away, you see that dismantled hand of the Will come through his chest from the back.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the cover, where it's just a feather sitting in a pool of blood, that's Marco's blood. And in the end letter section, where it announced their 1 year hiatus, it said, yes, Marco's dead.
Yeah.
That's not how you go on a year-long hiatus, Saga.
Whoa.
No.
Yeah, pretty much. Fuck you, Brian K. Vaughan.
Oh,
Fuck you,
God.
Brian K. Vaughan. You made us care about this character for 54 issues.
Now,
Sean's over here fighting back tears right
dude, it upset me to
he
no
got
end.
Game of Thrones.
He did. Now, okay, and I can be realistic. It's comics. We're in a world of magic. He may not stay dead. But that felt very final, though, with him acknowledging before going on explaining their next year-long hiatus they're taking, that yes, Marco's dead.
So,
which would also fit, because, this is a story of tragedy.
I was going to say it's comics, but so far in this series, dead has been dead.
Unless it's the Will and Vision and the stock.
Well, and So the other side of that is, and it may be permanent, but just, and again, I'm not.
And it would make sense, to be honest.
Yeah,
we know what through the narrations of Hazel throughout the series.
Right.
We know it's going to be about her growing up eventually.
That's what I was going to say. I'm not current on it as you guys are, but the gist that I get from the story is that Hazel's the main character.
Absolutely.
But it's these side characters get the crux of the story told.
Right. But like I was saying, you don't kill Marco before going on a year-long hiatus. Yeah. Mr.
You
Vaughn.
obviously do.
So Brian K. Vaughn does not care.
Oh my god!
So
it destroyed me seeing that last image and then the confirmation on the next page. It destroyed me as a human being.
I love how they gave us like black pages right after that.
Oh yeah, like
they did that in a previous issue too.
Yeah, I think the last I can't remember who. I think it was another death.
Yeah,
like it just it's impactful. Just
was it Isabel,
nothingness.
the babysitter?
I don't remember. Yeah.
So I will say this, based on what I've read in the book so far, the only thing that's kept Eliana, however you say her name,
Elena.
Is it? Are you sure there's not an I in there? Okay, we'll go with Elena.
I didn't think so.
I've always been saying Alana the entire time.
Okay, so the only thing that's been keeping her from killing and just fucking shit up has been Marco.
Because he took that pacifist role when they both left their armies.
Yeah, I mean, because she gives no fucks about killing people. It's only been because of Marco that's kept her from that point.
Yeah.
And to defend her daughter at this point, I don't know what and to avenge Marco.
Oh, the Will's gonna die horribly if he doesn't leave immediately. Because I think she's gonna kill the shit out of him for this.
Yeah, the Will. I don't see him surviving the next story arc unless he leaves and disappears. So.
Well, and you and I were talking about it yesterday, and we wholeheartedly believe that when the story starts back up, there's probably going to be a pretty big time skip. Like we're not going. Yeah, we're definitely. I don't think it's going right back where this one left off, because they've done that before, where they just kind of like leave you to pick up the pieces, and then pop up, and it's like months to a year later or something.
Right.
Like
If
that.
they do, all I want to see is Gus just stomping Will's head into mush.
It is Alana, by the way. There's no I in it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking there was. So.
Like I said, I just want if we're going right back to that scene, it better be Gus killing the shit out of the Will.
I love Gus.
Gus is the best.
He's the best.
And he'll become the bestest if he kills the fucking Will now.
I really think it's going to be a time jump because, as we've just stated, it's Hazel's story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Hazel, it ended, of course, just like you said, but her last comment was, I live to an old age.
Yeah.
Not everybody does. Mm-hmm. And you see Marco laying there in his own blood.
Just
so
fading out. It's heart-wrenching. Fiona Staples' art was just so on point, this issue.
Yeah.
How old is she now, currently?
Like
8-ish?
8, 10?
Yeah,
she hadn't hit tween or teenage yet.
When we first started this, she was a baby. Then we went to a toddler stage. Now we're in almost a preteen. Almost.
The whole line, and oh man, that flashback was so sad. Yeah. But like saying "mommy pooped on you."
Yeah.
She pooped on everybody.
On everything.
You're still the best thing that ever happened to me. You really got pooped on. It's a heart-wrenching issue.
Yeah.
Because especially once you know the ending's coming. But it shows, like I said, Marco and Hazel having some moments, and just Hazel's narration about growing up and living, just to see Marco, and just like I said, beautiful drawn imagery that just making me pissed, sad, and just loved this book even more so. I don't care if it's a year-long hiatus. We discussed it earlier in this episode. I'm fucking in this book until the fucking end.
Well, I mean, they very well could have needed time to come back and be able to.
I'm fine with that, to be honest.
To rebalance themselves after that.
But if you listen to this review, even with all the spoiler warnings, and you're not on Saga, even knowing this, go pick up Saga. It's an amazing book. You now have a year to get caught up.
And first trade's $10 at your store.
Yeah.
Or you can. You can also read it online. It's if that's easier to do, and it's worth it. This is one of the greatest books being published today of any medium.
There's a reason why it wins awards year after year after year after year in the comic books. So go buy it. Go give the first trade. If it doesn't sell you, then you can get off of it. But that first trade will sell you.
Sean's going to go into a self-induced coma for a year after this episode.
And Brian Cavon, fuck you. If you don't like that, come on the show and let me cry in your arms.
Right.
Amazing issue, amazing series. Go pick it up.
Yep.
So my comic for this week is going to be Venom. It's been really, really great. The art by Ryan Stegman has been fantastic. And JP Meyer, Frank Martin's color artist, and VC's Clayton Cowles is the letterer. The story up until this point has been Eddie Brock finding out that there's more to the symbiote. And it's kind of interesting because it's one of those issues, like back whenever they put Flash Thompson with the Venom symbiote in Guardians of the Galaxy, we found out about this planet called Clintar and new stuff about the symbiotes, which is kind of interesting. And it's, I don't want to say a retcon, but it's kind of them adding more backstory to the symbiote. This issue did that again and added another extra layer. They had recently a symbiote dragon had popped up out of a portal, and
as they do.
Yeah, and Eddie Brock ended up having to team up with Spider-Man Miles Morales, which huge shout out to them for using him, because it would have been way too easy for them to bring in Peter Parker,
right.
and I just loved that they used him instead, and they ended up like this whole symbiote dragon's stalking through the city destroying shit, and nobody could do anything about it, and they end up teaming up, and it's been a whole month since I've read the issue, but I'm pretty sure Eddie Brock just threw him into the thing's mouth and made him use his spider like burst or whatever and blew the head up.
Pretty much.
And you find out that there is this like person that's been controlling, and that's what's been going on with the Venom symbiote. It is apparently some kind of dark god. And at first I was just kind of like, well, that's interesting, but how do you explain the planet and all this stuff? And, the first issue started off with, like, the tale of Grendel and everything like that.
Beowulf story, yeah.
And they actually go back to it, this issue, which is fantastic. Yeah. You find out that this guy is older than planets and celestials, and the celestials pop up, and
those damn celestials.
And it's crazy because
been dealing with.
he's narrating, I guess, to Eddie Brock, and you find out that he was the darkness, essentially, of the universe before light exploded.
Hello, darkness, my
and like he talks about how they created all these planets and started calling his home space and stuff like that, which I think is crazy. And then he essentially kills one of the Celestials by reaching into like a shadow of one of them and shaping it to his will and cutting off its head and killing it. And you're like, I've been seeing the Avengers fucking struggle against these things, and this guy just murked a Celestial.
He did.
It's cool because it also explains the weaknesses of the symbiotes with
Right.
fire and sound, and it ends up being whenever he first forged the very first symbiote as a weapon, it was the fire of the forge and the sound of the hammer hitting the anvil and everything. And it goes into how humanity ended up, or like sentient beings ended up kind of being the downfall of his control over these things. Mm-hmm. And that the word Clintar, they kind of reshaped it for themselves, but what it originally means is like prison. And that's what they ended up going against this dark god and breaking him down into just subatomic levels. And so he's pretty much at this point to where he's reforming himself.
Yeah, because, a quick note about that. They reveal, if you weren't going to get to it, the planet isn't a planet. It's a collective of symbiotes that are keeping him. Mm-hmm. It's a living planet of them big enough to make a planet to keep him locked away.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and he was the Grendel in the original story, and he went to Earth.
Oh,
and Beowulf. Yeah.
He was the
and the person that ended up stopping him ended up being Thor, because I guess he had never experienced the power of like lightning before, and that really like messed with the symbiote, and so they all turned on him and basically destroyed him. So this body of him, we see Miles Morales go to take a shot at him and like fuck him up, but it's apparently not his real body. He's just regaining control of the symbiotes and made this body, and he's bringing it all back to this planet. Like they go to escape because they're still inside this giant dragon construct, and they find out that they're flying in space towards Clintar to free himself. So like I said, this guy fucking bitch slapped a Celestial and was just wrecking the entire universe. And I am very interested in seeing how Eddie Brock and Miles Morales is going to handle this. It feels like we're getting to a huge like part in the Venom storyline that Donny Cates has forged for us.
Now, this is the book that retroactively made one of the... Like, the reason I heard about this book this week is because this book retroactively bumped up the value of a Thor book.
Yeah, it was in the God of Thunder series. They had the first appearance of the symbiote god.
So comic speculators online kind of went insane. Like, I started seeing stuff pop up on eBay for like $80, $100.
This book went from being in dollar bins.
Yeah.
And not because it was a bad book, just because it's a modern book that wasn't a key issue, and went from being a dollar book to a $40 to $100 book overnight.
Which in 2 weeks it will drop back down to... It won't drop back down to being a dollar book, but it will very much drop.
It'd be a $20 book.
$10 to $20 book, yeah. So, comic speculation is weird. Yeah. It really is.
I'll never understand it. The best thing to do is anytime you ever read a book that has any sort of new character in it, keep that book, because there's no telling. It may be a good book later or not.
Donny Cates is just Marvel's golden boy. Like this, everything this dude touches turns to gold right now for Marvel.
Well, people were worried with Bendis leaving Marvel, but Donny Cates is stepping in as the new... I'm going to use the word architect. Marvel's no longer using that, but that's what they called Bendis, was the architect of the Marvel universe. I think Donny Cates is stepping in, and as you said in this book, he has retconned without retconned by adding to, which is a phenomenal way to retcon something, and give us more depth on a character that's been around since the 90s, 80s. I mean, it was really cool, a while back to find out where the symbiotes came from and everything. And whenever they showed the whole olden times thing with the Grendel and Beowulf story, like that was really interesting. And then they brought in that character that had a symbiote in Vietnam, and I'm just like, what are they doing? Like, how are they going to explain this? And then you find out that all this stuff has been caused by this like dark god. Yeah, Donny Cates is quickly becoming one of my top 3 or 4 comic writers right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how's it? This is a book that I'm not on. I've never been a huge fan of the Venom character. Just not. Don't dislike it, just not in my wheelhouse. How's the art in this book? Because it's not what I'm picking up.
The art's been fantastic.
Has it?
Yeah, when they first showed that dragon, like last issue, and showed him rampaging through the city, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm not a big symbiote fan either. I mean, they're fine as a villain in the Spider-Man books or whatever, but the solo books have never really done much for me. I got on this one because Donny Cates was writing it, and I have not been disappointed yet.
Yeah, stories, but I'm with you. I think we're all kind of agreement outside of Flash Thompson Venom. Not really huge on the symbiotes as far as Spider-Man's wheelhouse of villains and characters, but this has been interesting, especially now since they're officially getting into the history of the symbiotes. And the writing's been excellent. The art's been phenomenal to me. I really like the artwork.
Yeah.
I'm glad Jerry sold me on it when he first talked about the first issue.
He's good about that. He's very good about
that. That was like one of the last pages that they had, but...
Oh, yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So Jerry just handed me over the book that he brought with him. Very... I'm trying to think of the words. Stylized was... I mean, it's definitely stylized.
I feel there's some Madura-esque art styles into it, which I love. I love Joe Madura.
It's like they told Ryan Stegman to draw his version of Marvel's house style, and he rolled a 20. Right. And then he confirmed it, and then he confirmed it again. And that's what happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. It's been a great book, and I mean, like, there was a lot of. I had a difficult time deciding on what to do because that the new team on Teen Titans started, which Sean basically talked me into getting on that, and then Justice League Dark started up this week. Both really great new team books.
Yeah, Redneck came out.
Yeah,
new story arc for Redneck.
And the book that Caleb and I are really like excited about X-23.
Oh.
That started up
Yeah.
like, what,
Really
week
good.
before
I'm digging
last?
X-23.
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Really
and,
good.
and like everything's been great about it. Honey Badger's in it. What's not to love?
Yeah, so just lots of good books out this
I
week.
was
It
gonna say,
was-
so do you? I mean, we just heard Jerry's list, but do you guys have shout outs and recommendations outside of our main books that you want to give?
I mean, not really. I mean, like I said, the ones that Jerry just mentioned were ones I was excited about too. Saga was, I normally read alphabetically. I actually jumped ahead to get that one read. Descender.
Yeah.
So Descender is a book I was going to talk about that I changed my mind when I read New World. Descender actually ended this week. It was fantastic. It was a great ending. Sets up the next story, which is going to be Ascender. It's Rick Remender and it's Donnie Wynn or
Dustin,
Rick Remender.
Dustin Wynn.
Rick Remender wrote Descender, is now writing Ascender.
Yes.
That's a lot of hers.
Yes.
Jeff Lemire is doing. Is it?
No,
No.
it's Remender.
Remender. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just
Yeah, it's Remender and
both of those guys are writing all.
yeah,
the best
it's fantastic. And the ending was great and tragic, and it pulled your heartstrings, but then it ended setting up the next book.
So honorable mentions for me, Action Comics 1001 came out this week and was actually really good. I don't know if I'm completely sold on Bendis' Superman yet,
Yeah.
but I had fun with the first issue. Redneck was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Again, that's a Donny Cates book. Old Man Logan continues to just blow me out of the water. Probably one of my favorite, like there's an arc of Bullseye in it right now. It's doing things.
I forgot about that book. It was
And
really good.
While the content isn't bad on the story, it's just not the best. But the cover of this week's Marvel 2-in-1 featuring the Thing and the Human Torch is one of my favorite covers that I've seen in a long time. And so just those are mine. Honorable mentions for the week.
I jumped back on Avengers.
Did you?
Got caught up because they finally had the second print of issue 3. I was missing that. Again, phenomenal book. Regretted getting off of it when I had to cut back on some of my books due to financial issues, which y'all can fix if you just want that one. And Jerry covered a lot of the other books I read. The only other one I can say really is Savage Dragon came out. This one had a heavy emphasis on the kids. They had their own little mini adventure, which he did, which was funny because it was like normal Savage Dragon, they're dealing with their problem. But then we cut to where the kids are going, and it turned almost into like a Calvin and Hobbes simpler comic strip style that he did for those little sections. It was adorable, and I still think he's setting up eventually, which it'll be years from now, assuming he can continue making this book years later. I firmly believe Savage Dragon is going to turn into a team book involving the kids.
That would be awesome.
Because he's
That
always
would
said
be
it's a
really
generational thing, from Dragon to now Malcolm, and I think it's going to lead to the 4 kids they have now.
cool. Very cool.
What did you think of Teen Titans?
Teen Titans, very good start.
Yeah.
Which is hard for me to say because heavy Damien, and I'm not a Damien fan. He's, I guess, it's working better. Him and Kid Flash have a good rapport together.
I like that. Yeah.
Red Arrow is an interesting character. I haven't really seen much of her before. The new characters, Roundhouse. I fucking love Roundhouse already.
Roundhouse is great.
Now,
Which
is Roundhouse the bigger, the kind of blue guy?
Which I was completely mistaken due to one when we were talking about it before, because my book, getting ahead of ourselves last week, is he is a human wrecking ball. And I still say it's kind of a confusing illustration they did in when I was flipping through the books and seeing like the little previews of him. Like I said, he blasts like an image of himself. That was just him turning into the wrecking ball. He himself is the ball. So because I don't know, like Jerry, you said you read that. Personally, like when he's standing there, then you see it kind of flying out. Didn't read well into him flying out. It looked like he was blasting an image of himself.
That's a very hard thing to illustrate.
Right. Indeed. It should have been done multiple panels instead of one small one.
Yeah.
But I digress. He's Kid Flash only agreed to join the team because he liked Wrecking Ball's YouTube channel. Or Roundhouse. Roundhouse's YouTube channel. YouTube channel, which is great. Jin is a 4,000-year-old teenager. She is a genie in a bottle, basically.
Okay.
Another interesting character. And then, of course, Crush, Lobo's daughter. A strange daughter, apparently. He has not been, surprise, he hasn't been a father figure for her. And she grew up with a stepmother, too. I think they said, we don't even know who her mom was, or if the mom survived the birth.
I liked her more than I thought I would.
She is, she's not just Lobo as a female. It's like she does have like her own, like she has some character to her. Not that Lobo does, but you know what I'm saying. Like
Lobo's sex sounds terrifying.
I'm sure it's like you're as aroused as you are terrified. To say
yeah, it's like a deathgasm.
Yeah,
Probably.
But Teen Titans, I like the new lineup. I like the direction they're going in.
Yeah.
Because it's making a little more sense, I guess, for Damian. Because he's being able to... Maybe he'll grow up. Maybe he's growing on me. Because honestly, I hadn't read much Damian. Just the whole concept alone I didn't like.
Yeah.
Thanks to Arrow, I'm tired of anything that has to do with Ra's al Ghul. So...
I didn't like the cover.
It's very 90s Low Rider magazine,
Yeah.
which I used to buy a lot.
There were
back
some
in the day.
variant covers that were absolutely stunning for it.
Yeah. But the interior is the same artist. The main cover had the same artist in the inside, which I always appreciate because it's not fooling you with a beautiful cover than mediocre art.
Yeah.
But it's very. I like the art. It's very. I'm gonna say anime, but it's not realistic. It's very stylized, very good.
It's cartoon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this series.
Sweet.
The 15th reboot they've had in 3 years. Yeah.
That's comics.
Hopefully it'll stick for a little while.
Are we ready to get ahead of ourselves a little
Let's
bit?
do it.
Sure.
All right, let's get ahead of ourselves and talk about some books that are coming out this next week that will be on the stands on Wednesday that you can go by your local comic shop and pick up, or you can download off of Comixology, or even order your books and have them sent straight to your door if that's the way you choose to get your media. So I'll kick us off. The book I'm looking forward to next week is Seeds #1. It's written by Ann Nocenti. It's drawn by David Aja, I don't know, Sean.
If you mispronounce your name and you're offended by it, feel free to come on the show and fight us about it.
So I'll just read the I don't know what you call it, the preview, the synopsis for it. The bees are swarming. What do they know that we don't? The rich have built walls around their wealth and scramble into escape rockets. The romantic and the ruthless cross over into lawless sides of Zone B. A few cantankerous aliens have come to collect the last dregs of humanity's essence for the Celestial Embryo Bank. One of them falls in love. Astra is an idealistic journalist who stumbles onto the story of a lifetime, only to realize that if she reports it, she'll destroy the last hope of a dying world. How far will she go to get her story? This is an eco-fiction tech thriller where flora and fauna have begun to mutate. The Seeds is also a story of love beyond race and gender, and the resilience of both human and animal kind. It's going to be a 4-issue series. You know, David Aja has drawn books like Hawkeye, Immortal Iron Fist, and Nocenti has done Daredevil and Catwoman. It's for mature readers. I think if you're into books like Saga, or if you're into books like the book that Craig reviewed this week, The New World, I think that you will really like this story. So, The Seeds #1 from Dark Horse Comics.
Yes.
So I actually got way ahead of myself, and last week whenever we did this segment, I was looking at this next week.
It happens.
The first Wednesday in August. But yeah, Quantum Age is going to be my book for next week. I'm looking forward to see how they advance the plot of this and connect it more to Age of Doom that's going on right now.
Very cool.
It's Black Hammer series, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Book I'm looking forward to next week is Batman 52.
Yeah.
Written, of course, by the great Tom King. The trial of Mr. Freeze is continuing. It's currently deadlocked in the jury because one person voted innocent, and that's Bruce Wayne, the man who brought in Mr. Freeze, who is saying he's not guilty due to Batman using excessive force while bringing him in. With him being locked in jury, Robin is running around, Dick Grayson is running around in the bat suit. I'm curious to see where this is going.
Yeah.
So my book is Leviathan. Yeah, from Image.
We know words today.
It's got John Layman and Nick Patera on it. Both of those are Eisner Award-winning creators. Layman for Chew and Patera for his work on Manhattan projects. The creative team alone is enough to get me on it. Chew is one of my favorite books of all time. The cover is a giant dragon, looks like in a city setting like New York, looking on a couple making out, hugging, kissing in the middle of a park, and there's this giant dragon head behind them. So I don't know if it's I don't really know the premise other than it's got dragons and it's written by John Layman.
It sounds like he's trying to say that PDA will get you killed.
I think that the dragon is actually like friends of the main couple or something. Is what I think.
Did they have a preview for that in the back of an independent comic?
They may have.
Because I remember seeing it and like
actually, yes, they did.
Yeah, I was like, well, the cover of this looks kind of funky, and then I was like, oh, the art's a little wonky, and then they got to like the actual thing, and I'm like, that looks fucking gorgeous.
Yeah. So I'm excited for it. Again, the artist has won Eisner Awards for his art, and Layman we know has won for Chew, and it's just
very cool.
I'm excited.
Well, are we ready to bring this thing home?
Yeah,
we are.
We thank you again for tuning in to listen to our little show. We have a blast doing it. We hope you have a blast listening to it. If you have liked what you heard, and as always, we really hope you have, do us the favor. We would really appreciate it. Go leave us a review and give us a rating on iTunes. It lets iTunes algorithms kind of know, maybe bump us up a little bit. It also lets us kind of judge how we're doing ourselves. Come and find us on our social media pages. Again, we're on Instagram and Twitter at SFG Podcast. We are on the Facebook at the Southern Fried Geekery Podcast. We're on YouTube as the Southern Fried Geekery Podcast. We still want your questions, so you're going to be able to find our form up there. That's a link to our Google Forms. You can either leave a question in the comment, or you can leave an anonymous question on our Google form. We'd love to interact, man. We like to know what y'all are talking about. We like to know what y'all want to know. It gives us kind of an idea of where we're going with the show. It also brings up interesting topics that we might not talk about without that outside influence. And, we like our Southern Fried fam, man. So use that hashtag.
And just another friendly reminder by the end of the show, I'm looking for as many requests as I possibly can for my daily drawings. So feel free to hit us up on any ways that you can contact us that Caleb just nicely went through and let you know.
Yeah, do that, and so we can get those drawings out there. It's a really, really cool, man. Again, doing a great work with that.
Thank you.
Really, really love seeing what you draw. So if nothing else, I think we're going to call this quits, and we'll see y'all next week. Go forth and love some comics.
Yeah. Like how I threw it in right after he was done, so he can't edit music over it this time.
You doubt his
skills.
I know, right?